Hi guys, so in this hair tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you how to attach a curly hair ponytail. As you can see, my beautiful model Janelle's hair has already been prepped and we've already slicked the hair into position to where the ponytail wanted to be placed. So if you need to take a moment and actually reference the last video tutorial that we just did on how to prepare the hair to be able to slick into the ponytail and know what products to use and how to do the whole process, you can just pause this video and go ahead and do that now. But once you're ready, we're going to go ahead and show you how to actually then attach the curly hair that I will be using for creating the ponytail look for Janelle's hair. So the hair that I'm actually using is synthetic hair. You can use human hair, you can use synthetic hair. I'm using this hair here. This is the curly hair that I'm using, and this is a brand by Sensational. So you can buy this online or you can get it from any of your hair shops. If you're local to any Afro hair shops, you'll find some of this extension there. So what I've actually done is I've combined 3 packets of the curly hair extension, only because of the amount of volume that I want to be able to create when the look is finished. That's why I've got so much hair that I'm actually placing here, but you can go for either 1 or 2, but I think at least 2 as your minimum is going to give you that really nice finish for the curly hair ponytail that we're going to place. So this is the hair that I'm going to be using. I will be using some of my synthetic straight hair. So this is expression hair that I'll be using to help to cover up that part where we're going to place the hair attachment to, that will cover the elastic band, and it's actually going to help to cover up her own hair. So as you can see, Janelle's got long straight hair that we've smoothed out already. So it's not going to naturally blend in, and especially where we're using synthetic hair, I will have to put all her hair completely away. The other option would have been to either curl Janelle's hair to try and match the curl pattern that we have from the extension. We could have done that. That could have been another process, but I've decided to just use her own hair to give me a base for attaching this hair. For the fact that she's got such long hair, when I actually go ahead and create the base, it's going to create that slight height that I want to see. So you have an area surface here that is completely flat, and then you have your curls starting through from the top there. So it's just going to help to exaggerate the height of the actual placement and how the ponytail is actually going to sit on the head. At this point, I don't really need a lot more product because the hair has already been prepared. And like I said, if you need to know more about products, you can go ahead and watch the other tutorial video that we covered on how to actually create the slick finish that we have here. So the first thing I need to actually do is to pre-braid this hair, and then we're going to pin it into position, and then I will go ahead and place my extension into the hair now. I'll be parting this into 3 sections, just like a regular normal braid. Just make sure the hair is combed out and is sleek. And also because her hair is she's got a lot of hair and it feels quite thick, so it's going to create a little bit more bulk to the base of this hair. Hence why I'm also working with a lot more hair in terms of the curly hair. So I'm making sure that this is nicely combed and it's completely smooth, and we just want to keep that nice and tight as we proceed with the braiding in of the hair. And once this is braided, I'm going to pin this in, and then I'm going to place the hair into position, and then I'll go ahead and actually start fixing the hair into place. So I'm just braiding this out completely, and once I've braided this out, I'm going to secure this with a hair grip, and that should help to start the process of positioning this into place. The synthetic hair I am using is very silky, so it can become a little bit slippery, so that's probably going to add a little bit more time to the process of creating this look. Because the hair is so long, if it was slightly short, I could easily just wrap it around and then just tie it down. Because I'm utilizing the fact that the hair is long to then help to create this part here that is going to be the flat surface that I'm going to cover up with some hair extension, and then you see the curls coming through there. And because the hair is quite long here at the back, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this hair and then just tuck that in, just fold that in just in here. And then I'm going to fold this length back down here in half. And then I'm just going to use a hair grip and grip that down into place. So I'm just using a regular hair grip here to just tuck that in, and then that will just hold it into place. So this is essentially creating the base that I'm working with. I'm intentionally keeping the height because I want to work with that height to kind of work as an area that when I finish this, if I want to, I could accessorize the hair. And if I put any accessories, they will be used around this area here, and then we have these beautiful curls. So we'll see what happens when we finish this look. If I decide to go ahead and add any accessories to the finish, then we might possibly do that, okay? So the next thing I need to do is to then work on adding my extension into the hair. I'm just going to go ahead and add more hair grips just along the inside of the place where I just folded the hair, so it holds and it creates a little bit more of a structure. So I'm just going in and just using my black hair grips to just create a little bit more hold in there. So once I've done that, it's not completely secure, but I know when I start to place the extension that I'm actually going to be using, it's going to create a little bit more tightening as I go ahead and wrap that around the hair, okay? So again, this is creating that foundation base that I need to wrap the hair around. The next thing I'm going to do is to actually place my extension in position. So what I did was join all the 3 packets together, and I held it right in the middle. And what I did was just to place the elastic band between there. So if I just lightly demonstrate that with this elastic band. So all I did was to hold the elastic between my fingers this way, went through right at the halfway point, okay? And you can see that elastic band coming through where I'm holding it. So all I'm doing is taking that elastic band and then bringing this one here so that that sits between the hair extension, and then that'll come through there. So I took that hair, held it here, grabbed this part of the elastic band, and I'm lifting this part with my thumb here, and then I just hook that through, and then that will join that elastic band together. So that's all I did to join that section and make it into one large piece of hair extension for the ponytail, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this here, and I'm using a slightly thicker hairband. You can use a black one if you have that. I just didn't have a black one, so I just used this pink one here, but it's going to be covered up by the extension that I'm going to use to cover this. So this is going to be just placed over the hair, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that and tighten that through one more time, okay? Because we want this to be nice and secure and in the right position. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to bring some of that extension around the front here, because with this extension, I'm going to use it to cover up part of the hair itself. So all I did was place it so that it sits behind the hair. Now I'm just turning that hairband around and bringing that hair to sit more towards the front here. And all I'm just going to do is to spread this hair, and I just need the hair to cover up. So right now it's not secure, but we can see the idea of where we're going with this look here. So I'm just taking a small amount of the extension, and all I'm going to do is to wrap it around. So you're kind of just covering that hair up. That's what we're aiming to do here. So with this hair being very silky, it's synthetic hair, so it's very silky and it's very slippery. So I mentioned before, it will likely take a little bit more time just for the fact that I'm using this type of hair here. It all depends on the type of hair that you're using, that you're working with, will determine how fast you're able to do this process here. So right now it's not looking very tidy, but I'm just working to position it where I want it to go. And then I'll be wrapping that up and then working through to fix that to get a nicer finish. So I'm just going to go ahead and focus on doing that process right now. I will mention that I'm going to go in with a little bit of pins, my hair grips, just to position the hair in a little bit, just so that it feels a little bit more secured in there. Using my synthetic hair, so this is going to be used to start wrapping around the base here and covering up that extension. and then I'll use it to work around the whole top area here until I feel that is nice and secure, and then I will stop. So if I start off with a small amount of extension, so you can find something that blends in with the actual hair so that it just keeps it and gives it a natural finish. So this is what I'm using here. It's not a lot of hair, but I'm going to be kind of like spreading it out as I'm applying this so that it just spreads out and covers a little bit more space. Okay, so as I continue to bring this hair around, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a little bit of my glaze. So that's the edge control product that we use to actually slick the hair ready for this position. So what the glaze is doing is sticking this hair together and creating a little bit more of a flat surface for me. This will help to keep that hair in place. So I'm just widening the hair as I go. I am going to add a little bit more extension because this section is a little bit more on the wider side, and it's also quite long as well. Okay, so when I get to the last bit of this hair, I'm just going to work that glaze in here, and it'll just help to stick that hair together. I'm going to use a little bit of my gel to help with the process. So I find this better to do compared to trying to use any hair grips at this point to keep the hair in position. So I'm applying a little bit of tension as I bring this around and tie it in place. Okay, so with this type of gel, because I know it dries quite hard, it's going to hold and keep that secure. So I need to continue and add a little bit more of my extension. So similar to like how I started with the adding in of the extension process at the beginning, I'm just going to tie the very last end of this in. I will put a little bit of the gel in here and a little bit of the glaze as well to keep this nice and secure. So I'll bring that in around and I'll continue that process. So I've just got that last little bit there to tuck in. Okay, then I'll take this here, come through from the other side. So again, I'm just spreading the hair a little bit so it covers more area for me instead of keeping it narrow. So I'll continue this process until I feel my hair is nice and secure. Right now I'm just working on creating a nice shape here for a really nice finish in the hair. So that's what I'm just going to continue to do, and using a little bit of my edge control product, I'm just slicking the hair in. So remember, when you adding this, you want to follow the direction that you place the hair in. It doesn't help to go the opposite way. You need to keep it flowing in the direction that you were going in with the wrapping of the hair that you last put in there. So always remember that as well. So some of the curly hair, I'll go ahead and I'll actually pin that in because I'm going to loosen some of this hair. I'm going to use some of my hair grips, and that's going to be slightly pinned in to the hair itself, so it just has a better shape and a better hold, and then we just go around and dress and style that hair. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. As you can see, we've got a nice base working through there, but here we still have that height of the own hair that I braided in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a combination of slightly doing a gentle back combing technique in here, but I'm just using more my fingers to just pull on the hair and creating like a teasing effect. And I'm just going to go ahead and pin some of that hair into place here with my hair grip and just dress out the hair a little bit more. So this part, again, you just take your time to place the hair in the position that you want to, so that it covers up the actual hair that we don't want to see in there, but we're still using that braid that I did underneath to continue to add to the height that we have here, but still showing through the curls instead of covering everything up completely. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a nice ponytail and it's nice and high. We've got a nice shape working through there. So the next thing I need to focus on is if I need to cut and shape the curls a little bit more, we're going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to just dress the baby hairs that we have at the front there. But essentially, we have placed the ponytail and we've got the curls falling in there. We've got a beautiful height working through there. So with the cutting that I'll do, it help to just fluff the curls a little bit more so that we just get a better finish. And then I'll just check through any pins, and if there's more pins that I need to add, I might use the fine ones. But what I'm essentially doing is just taking a little bit of my pin and then just grabbing a little bit of hair and then just pinning that in. It doesn't have to be specific areas, it can be random areas, but you're doing it in a way that the finish is going to be what you want to see when it's actually done in the hair. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then once I'm done, I'll come back and then I'll present a final look and then we can see how the finish looks. But there's nothing else extra I'm going to add apart from finishing the baby hairs just at the front, putting a little bit of shine spray on her hair to add a little bit of shine to the hair, and then possibly just cutting the hair. So in terms of the cutting that I'll do, it's just a little bit of freehand cutting, just going in and cutting my curls and then just shaping that a little bit more. So something about cutting curly hair is something that we've covered already on our tutorial on how to cut curly hair textures. So you can use that same method when you're cutting your curly hair extension, regardless of whether it's human hair or synthetic hair. So that will just help to add the shape. So there's a little bit of long layers that we have here. Gel and the glaze that I used isn't holding and I can feel that it's drying already. So if you feel that you need to dry a little bit more, you can just go over that with your dryer, following the direction that you placed your gel or your edge control in while you're holding it over with your dryer at like a medium heat and a medium airflow, so it doesn't disturb the hair too much, because remember we're working with synthetic hair, we can't afford to have too much heat on the hair. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Hi guys, so this is our completed look with the curly ponytail attachment. I've gone ahead and finished and styled out the baby hairs as I mentioned I would be doing. And I also did a little bit more cutting and shaping to the hair itself, so it gives us a little bit more shape. And I did separate out the curls so it fluffs out the curls a little bit more instead of having it sitting a little bit too flat. So this is how you do your ponytail placement if you're using your synthetic ponytail curly hair to create this look. And for the final touch and finish for the top part, I just applied a little bit of serum. So I actually used my Charlotte Mensa Manketti oil and also applied my Charlotte Mensa finishing mist to complete the styling.